Where is it all? Good morning, afternoon and evening, whenever you are watching me. Thank you for joining your favorite South Florida real estate agent again. I appreciate it. I wanted to start today by being really honest with you. This isn't something that I used to ever think about. No, not at all. Or if I did, not much, that's for sure. But lately, I've been seeing these short clips pop up on social media. Not dramatic ones per se, not scary ones per se. Just quietly watching strange little questions that make you stop scrolling at least a half a second. Questions like, why aren't we building new graveyards anymore? And normally I would just scroll right on by. That would not be something I would go by. But this time I didn't, because I realized something that's super uncomfortable for me anyways. I don't have that answer either. So instead of assuming anything extreme, instead of jumping to conclusions or calling it a conspiracy right away and dismissing it, I decided to do something that kind of almost feels oddly weird these days. I tried to slow down. I wanted to actually, look at the real numbers. Basically, curiosity doesn't have to mean fear. I know that. I'm sure you do too. It just means that we're paying attention. Okay. And once you start paying attention, some things kind of feel strange. No doubt about it. So, here, got my little noties again. Let's start with something simple, okay? Sorry about the ruffling. In the United States, roughly 8,000 people die every single day. That's 8,000 today, 8,000 tomorrow, and so on and so forth, right? So by the end of the year, that roughly equates to about 3 million deaths. Now, there is something that has upticked as of recently more than it used to be, and that's cremation. Because now about 60% of all deaths, they go with cremation instead of burial. But that being said, take out all the other factors, we're still left with at least 1 million burials every year. That's a million. So here's the quiet question. Where do they all go? Logically, you'd expect new land to be procured constantly, right? You'd expect cemeteries to be expanding outward, especially in cities that are growing. But think for a second. Can you name, excuse me, a graveyard, a new one, near you in the last, 20 years? I can't. I don't think so. Most people can't. Most cemeteries we know are old, decades old, if not centuries old. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything sinister by itself. No, not at all. But it does mean something has changed. Some of that change makes sense, right? Burials are reused over time. We know that. Families share plots. Okay, how about green burials? Those are becoming a lot more common now. Vertical burial systems, they exist. Rural burial locations. out of the sight of most people who dwell more in cities and things like that, whereas where most people live. So it's possible the answer is simple. The system adapted. But adaptation does not mean that it's going to come with visibility. It might mean that things become more invisible. And that brings me to my second thing that made me pause. Food. Specifically meat. Because once you start thinking about the scale, it gets big, and it gets big really fast. So let's talk about burgers. One fast food chain alone, which I will not name, sells tens of millions of burgers every single day worldwide. Every day. That's just one company. That doesn't include grocery stores, restaurants, school lunches, cooking at home, or the rest of the whole global food system. So zoom out further. The United States processes tens of millions of cows every year. Okay. Hundreds of millions of pigs. And wait till we get to the chickens. Billions of chickens. That's billions. And yet most of us never see large herds. We never see mass transportation. We never see slaughter. We don't see the processing. You know what we do see is the final product. We see the neatly wrapped, neatly cooked, neatly distanced from the source. Now, before anyone panics, let me just say this clearly. I am not saying that food isn't real. I am not saying that numbers are fake. I'm not claiming anything dark. No. What I am saying is that the modern system are incredibly efficient. And when systems become efficient enough, sometimes they really disappear out of view. So here's where things start sounding conspiratorial. But I want you to notice how I'm framing this. These are not claims. These are not just, they're just questions that people are asking. So, question 1. Did death infrastructure quietly move out of public view? Large cremation facilities? Rural processing? Private systems we don't interact with, obviously. If it's not public facing, would we even know? Probably not. So, question 2. Did industrial farming become so concentrated that fewer locations now produce what is used to taking hundreds, or if not thousands? Fewer farms, bigger yields, centralized processing. It's not more animals per se, just fewer places. So question 3. Did we stop witnessing inputs and outputs altogether? We didn't see the birth, we didn't see the death, we didn't see the slaughter, and we didn't see the waste. We saw the polished results. And when you don't see the process, the scale starts feeling real. And here's the most uncomfortable question of all. What if actually nothing sinister is happening? What if it's really a psychological shift? What if we simply outsourced our awareness? Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't conspiracy. It's more like normalization. It's how quickly massive systems become background noise. So I want to be very clear about why I made this video. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm not here to scare you, that's for sure. And I'm not here to push a narrative either. I am here, though, however, to remind you that curiosity is super healthy. You don't need to panic, though. You don't need to jump to conclusions. You just need to think. You don't have to distrust everything. But it's okay to notice patterns. It's okay to ask things and where they come from. Questions. It's okay if this feels like bigger than I realized. It's kind of, when you start looking at stats, you kind of feel that way. If you've seen those clips online, trust me, you're not alone. That's why I finally had to say something. And if you've never thought about this before, that's okay too. But curiosity is not about fear. No. It's about awareness. And so, if this made you think at all, this video, sit with that. Not with panic. Not with certainty either, though. Just with better questions. Because asking better questions is how we stay human in systems that are designed to kind of make us stop noticing most things. All right, I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow.